Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm a huge fan of two notes, and the Torpedo Captor X is something I've been using on the show for years. It offers a virtual cabinet from my guitar amp to the desktop so I can record absolutely silently. It's been working flawlessly all these years, but recently Two Notes have brought out the Reload 2, which is an all analog reactive load box that maintains pristine signal from your guitar amplifier and just used for recording or out to live speakers. It can run your mono guitar amp into so many different signals, like a wet, dry, wet, or just in stereo in the room using different onboard effects. It works with so many different devices, but I'll talk about it and we'll just get into it. So primarily the Reload 2 really is a reactive load for your guitar amp. It gets the whole impedance signal from your guitar amp that goes out to the speakers usually, and it sonically just matches that impedance. I'm not exactly sure how it does it. It matches the wavelength and that absorbs that whole load. It's not just a constant impedance that it matches like an attenuation. So a standard attenuation device will just give you a flat signal, meaning no matter how much you turn up your guitar amp, it just takes that whole flat signal, and the actual response that goes out to the speakers, you find that you lose a lot of the highs and the speakers just aren't sonically correct to what the actual amplifier is putting out. Sure, you can just turn up your guitar amp and you can turn down the actual output, but it's taking a lot of those frequencies off the top. And that's where the Reload 2 is a little bit different, in that it actually matches the sonics, and it's approved by Celestion as well, that it matches the sonics and the response of those exact speakers. It simulates a guitar speaker going back to the reactive load, and essentially it just maintains purity of your sound no matter how loud the amp is getting. The actual signal that you're able to work with just stays sonically true to that guitar amp. So the actual volume knobs on the front, as you turn them down, they're not attenuators. The attenuation signal is actually very low, and this is actually a power amplifier that's actually turning that signal up. And so if you've got a really quiet amp, you can actually turn this up and go louder than the actual guitar amp can handle. Meaning you can go to gigs with small 20 watt amps and perform just fine at loud venues. And that's the basic core of what the actual Reload 2 does. So some of the features I think is really cool with the Reload 2 is now you've got the parallel effects loop or stereo effects loop. You can just run all those different effects that you have. You can plug your quad cortex into it. You can run all those after effects and everything just to make your sound absolutely huge. There's loads of different options how you can hook that up to your guitar amp. If you go the whole Guitar God way, where you've got your guitar amp that has dual outputs on the back, you can run one of those outputs just straight to a guitar cab to get a dry signal of what your guitar amp is doing, and the other output you can run into the Reload 2, splits that into two different signals where you can add your ambience on top. So you could have your center guitar speaker behind you on stage, and on the outer you could have the two other guitar speakers that are putting out all the ambience and all the huge overtones that you've just gone and got out of your quad cortex or whatever you've got. And that's known as the wet, dry, wet signal, and that's absolutely immense. But the way that I like to use it is still just silently in the room, just like I did for the Torpedo Captor X. But none of the virtual cabinets and any of that software is inbuilt into this reactive load. This is purely just an analog device and just sends that super clean signal to my audio interface. The actual speaker simulation or the microphone placement is done through Genome on the desktop. It's either a standalone application or you use it in Logic or however you want to use it, but you can just work with your stereo signal there and just make some awesome guitar tones. And to me that sounds absolutely amazing, and everything's just set up so simply. I've just got my guitar going straight into the Origin Effects MEQ driver. This is an absolutely insane little drive, by the way. I'll have links in the description, and that's going into my Marshall JCM 800 and outputting through the Reload 2, where I've just got the two different signals going off straight into my audio interface, which is going into Genome in Logic, And that's just set up really simply. I've just got a stereo signal going on that's split. One side is the Dave Mustaine Mega Stack, which is the 412 with V30s. A single SM57 pushed up to that, 38% away. Then on the right hand side of the track, I've got the Brit C vintage speaker, and that's got an SM57 pushed up to it as well, and that's about 32 or 34% away. And then that goes through the mixer just there, where I've got things panned about 80% each way. Then after the mixer, I've just got a small amount of reverb, and it's the only effect going on, but that whole sound, just the sonics, everything to me, it just sounds so cool and such a professional sound that I've got out of this. I could just riff that out for ages. I have been heaps. I know I played that song just the other day, but it's just such a good tone in my ears. I think it's just so balanced and all the sonics are where they should be. It feels like the record in a way. And so for the Reload 2, you can really find that sweet spot with your guitar amp. A lot of Marshalls, like the JCM 800, they're renowned and known that you just keep turning them up and the volume control stops being a volume at about 9 o'clock. And after that, it really just turns into like a tone control and just adds weight or just different sonic characteristics to your tone. So now you can use your volume as a tone control as well. And as that goes into the Reload 2, you select your impedance at the very start just to match the output of your guitar amplifier. That shows up on the front feature, which is cool. And then above that, you've got the amp in level. And as I turn this up, you can hear that's clipping into the orange there, and you can just bring that down. And if you bring it down far too low, you lose some of that weight that the amp actually has. So you've really just got to bring it up. Till you see it starting to clip, and then your amp actually just sounds at its best. And that's how that works. It's so straightforward and simple. And then it brings you into the power amp for each of the channels. This white knob here, that actually controls the volume going out to the cabinets. I do have two cabinets in the room connected. I've just got them turned right down, but sonically, I'll just wake him up slightly. And they're connected all the time, which is really cool. So I can just turn them down and I'm going silently straight through into Genome. And the output that's going into the audio interface is this one here. Under that, we've actually got the depth and presence controls. It's a really cool feature on this, as I've just added a little bit more depth to the tone. I'll turn that up a little bit more and we'll just see what happens. I'll leave them there and I'll bring up the presence. Very basic the way they work. I think it's really cool. And I really think that's a cool feature. You can just add that little bit more weight to your tone, or just take a little bit of the shrill off the top end, depending on the gig that you're going to. Very simple controls. These are notched as well, these volume controls, so you can really just get them exact with each other. These ones as well, just notched. And then at the top for each of these channels, you've got a mojo button. And I'm not entirely sure what this does, but I just think it just makes it sound better when that's pushed in. So that's all that matters to me. It's only very slight, but it's like it's just a little bit richer. It's just the sounds more together, maybe a bit more of like a mid bump. And then lastly, for each of the channels, you've just got a source line or amp input. And the line input really just allows you to plug in different things like preamp pedals straight into this, use it as a power amp and output that into your speakers. You can run it with your quad cortex. There's just so many different possibilities how you can hook this up and wire it up. I just leave everything connected in the back and just change all the switching on the front panel, and it's just really simple to use. And utilizing the stereo effects loop, I've actually got the Empress reverb pedal, and this is a stereo reverb pedal. I can just have different delays and things come on, ping pongs back and forth. It's really cool. That's actually hooked up stereo in the back. We'll just have a listen to how that sounds right now. That's cool. And that is just so cool. All those effects, they just sound amazing, especially when you sit in the room and you've just got like the amps either side and it's like a stereo sound. That it's amazing sound. And I think any of you guys out there that have valve amps, you'll absolutely love this. I think it just seems to retain all the sonic clarity from your amp as you turn it up. The sound I've got in the room when I do turn it up and the bird's not in here with me, it's absolutely amazing. All those effects come through. You'll just be blown away. You can trust me on that. The sound that I've got out of this is amazing, and it's just so simple to use. It's just too cool. There's just so many different variations and ways to adapt it just to work with you in your home or your studio or your live rig, but there's something just so cool about running a classic sound you've grown up with, really basic setup, and just having the sonics exactly where you want it. But for me, it's a game changer. I feel I've stepped up the sound in this room, just giving you guys a better sound each week. But I guess that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. That's the Reload 2 by 2 Notes Audio Engineering. Amazing product. There'll be links in the description, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.